Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope everyone has had a great week. Back again with another video, and this is the second video in our city series about mastering the basics. And last week we talked a little bit about eliminating processed foods from your diet. So that's a big ask, but basically we want to eat about 80 to 90% whole foods most of the time, and we talked about how that really encompasses everything on the outer aisles of the grocery store. If you're looking for a very simple thing to remember as to what you should be looking for when you're purchasing your foods. And so this week we're going to talk a little bit about a topic that often comes up when people start to eliminate processed foods from their diet. And it's another mastering basic topic, and this is a really basic topic. And so this week is all about fluid intake. So processed foods not only, include things like chips and cookies and snacky type foods and things that come in a bag or a box, that type of stuff, ice cream, that type of stuff. But also includes a lot of the things that we drink, right? So one of the biggest problems with processed foods are the liquid forms of processed foods because not only are they hyper palatable, but there's really reduced satiety from liquid foods. So we see a lot of people drinking very high calorie drinks that contain massive amounts of sugar in them, and it's really fast acting energy and empty calories, and that's pretty much it. And so these are quite problematic. So we're talking about things like sodas and energy drinks and sports drinks and coffee and tea concoctions. So not just plain coffee and tea, but like the crazy drink that you get from the coffee shop that has whipped cream and chocolate and all kinds of flavorings and sugars in them and stuff like that. Just a fun story. I was in a gas station convenience store the other day. I was looking to get a coffee, and there was not many options around. They had a obviously a cooler with different cold coffees in there, and sometimes you can find like just a plain black coffee, iced coffee in a can or whatever. And so I was trying to see if they had any, but all the coffee drinks that they had were like 270 calories. And since coffee is pretty much has 0 calories, God only knows what was inside of them. So those types of things are the things that we're talking about. And energy drinks, your Red Bulls, your Monsters, that type of stuff. These are all also processed foods. They're very high calories, and they're typically some of the worst types of processed foods. So um, when we start to eliminate those types of foods from our diets, one of the side effects that often happens is that our fluid intake goes down. So much of people's fluid intake is based around these processed liquid calories, and um, while most of it's kind of empty calories, there is a fair amount of water in these drinks, obviously. And so people are kind of left, unfortunately, dehydrated because don't know what to drink, right? They're so used to drinking these things, and now all of a sudden, all these drinks are gone away and out of their diet, and they can become dehydrated. And you know, often I see this manifest as in actually people being very overly hungry because the body is now searching for water, and they're just like, it's like I feel hungry, and really what they're not really hungry, they're just dehydrated. So how do you know whether you're getting the right amount of fluid intake, right? That's probably your first question, right? Well, you'll see different formulas online for, drink this many 8-ounce glasses of water every day. And honestly, I like to tell people to just look at the color of their urine. I know this is not like the most appetizing topic to talk about, but it's probably the best way to assess whether you're hydrated adequately or not, or getting in enough fluid. So, if your urine is like a bright yellow, it's really dark yellow or whatever, you're probably dehydrated. You need to drink more fluids. What you really want is kind of a pale yellowish color when you're going to the bathroom. And if the urine looks pale yellowish, you're doing pretty good. That means you're pretty hydrated. If it's looks like clear liquid as it's coming out, and looks like just what you took in, then you're overly hydrated. You can probably back off a little bit. It's kind of shooting for that pale yellow color when you're going to the bathroom, and that's the best way to know whether you're hydrated or not. So, what kind of things can you drink then? Um, well, number one is water. Like you should be drinking mostly water throughout the day. How do you do that? Um, you just have a water bottle with you. Personally, this is my number one hack is like get a water bottle. This is my 32-ounce water bottle. I literally carry this thing around with me everywhere I go. It's like my sidekick. Um, it's with me when I'm at my desk. It's with me when I work out. It's with me when I get in the car. I take it everywhere I go, so I always have it in front of me. And if the thing is always in front of you, then you're always going to be drinking out of it. And so I find that to be the best hack as far as getting in the right amount of fluid. Like I said, it's a 32-ounce water bottle. I usually fill it up a few times throughout the day, and just always have it with me. And that way it's always there whenever I'm thirsty, and it constantly reminds me that I should be drinking my water. And so I mentioned that the elimination of processed liquid calories decreases your fluid intake, but the other thing that processed foods have a lot of in it as well is um, sodium. And sodium is, contrary to popular belief, is actually a very necessary mineral that we get from, or that we should be getting from our food. Unfortunately, in processed food, the sodium content is super high, right? And so this is where people get in trouble with too much sodium is if you're eating a lot of processed foods, it's very easy to go over in sodium. However, when you eliminate these processed foods, the amount of sodium that you're taking is drastically reduced. Like it's very hard to get sodium in your diet from just eating whole foods. So you're practically getting zero, and it is a necessary mineral. Your body needs it; it will not survive without it. So one of the things that can people can often find is that when they start to eat a whole foods diet, they are not getting a lot of sodium, and this ends up in can be a variety of uh, symptoms that manifest in a variety of different ways. So obviously, I'm not a doctor. If you have medical conditions, especially if you have high blood pressure, please talk to your doctor about this before you're doing anything. So please do not take anything I'm about to say as medical advice. But I like to advise people to add sodium back into their diet once they have eliminated other processed foods from their diet. And the first and obvious place to do that is just by salting your food. I know salting your food is often thought as a bad thing, but only in the bad thing in the case of a highly processed diet, usually. Again, talk to your doctor, before you do any of this. But like I salt all of my food all the time, and I encourage most of the people that are eating a whole foods diet to also salt their food. The other electrolytes that you want to be mindful of is magnesium and potassium. But as you make this conversion from less processed foods to more processed foods, and you're eating more fruits and vegetables, you'll get a lot of magnesium and potassium along with those. You might, in some cases, need to supplement a little bit more than that, but that's not really the first major concern for me. It's honestly more um, sodium to begin with. And so, uh, salting your food is a good start. You might need to even do more than that. And some people find that they need to supplement with electrolytes, specifically sodium, on top of just salting their food. This is all very individualized, and you have to just be kind of cognizant of how you feel with more or less sodium. So it's something to play around with. Personally, I like to use LMNT. I am an affiliate for LMNT, or pronounced Element. But and so if you use my link, I'll make a small commission off it. You can use my link, or you can just go to the website and check it out for themselves. I don't really care. Um, but they have a really good product. They have great flavors for their products, which again helps in the fluid intake. You add some of the stuff to your water, it tastes delicious, you're more likely to drink it, and you get the electrolytes along with it. So it's kind of a win-win scenario. And so, but some people find that they just need to add a little bit extra electrolytes once they start to reduce their processed food intake. And being hydrated is not only just about how much water you take in, it's also about the electrolyte status of your body. So it's really the balance of water plus electrolytes that really determines whether you're hydrated or not. So playing with that and dialing that in, but most people are going to need to add some sodium to their diet, whether it's just through salting their food or with it salting their food plus adding some electrolyte supplement on top of that. Um, that's probably something to be mindful of as well, but that's really kind of down the road. The first thing and most important thing when we're talking about mastering the basics is really just dialing in and making sure that you're getting um, more fluid, like you're taking in water and you are hydrated, because it's very typical for people to eliminate these processed drinks from their diet and then don't drink enough water, and they can feel pretty crappy. They can feel very hungry. It's really just a side effect of not having enough fluid intake. So water is the number one place to start. Coffee and tea are perfectly fine. Again, if they're not, with a whole bunch of sugars and flavorings and stuff like that. If you want to have your, a little bit of milk with your coffee or your tea, great. If you want to have a little bit of monk fruit or stevia in there to sweeten things up, that's cool too. Even if you just put a little like teaspoon of sugar in there, that's not gonna hurt anyone, I don't think. But just not any of these crazy coffee or tea concoctions that are just like hundreds and hundreds of calories of sugar and processed flavorings and things like that. Um, Stay away from fruit juices. I know that might be a thought for some people. While they're typically, thought of as a good thing, they are a very highly processed form of fruit. So if you imagine how many apples are in a glass of apple juice, for example, it's like two or three apples, right? You'd be hard pressed to eat two or three whole apples, right? So it's very easy to overdo the fruit juice and overconsume it. And vegetable juices, as long as it's just pure vegetables, that's okay. I'm not concerned about that because the calories are going to be minimal from that, and you'll get a lot of vitamins and minerals from it. But lots of vegetable juices have a whole bunch of other stuff in it. So if you're going to make your own vegetable juice, great. You're going to puree some or juice some carrots and celery and kale and whatever. That's okay. I don't. For most people, I think that's fine. But stay away from any kind of store-bought vegetable juices for the most part. And yeah, really, your diet is just your fluid intake should be mostly water, a little bit of coffee and tea, and maybe some vegetable juice if you want. Bone broth is another great liquid form of that you could also get. You also get electrolytes in. So if you can find really nice bone broths at the store, or you can make it your own. That's really good form of fluid intake, especially in the winter. It's nice to have a nice warm cup of bone broth. And the last thing I want to just talk about is alcohol. People are also that's also part of their fluid intake. It should be a major part of their fluid intake. Again, many alcoholic drinks are like just tons of sugar and processed things inside of them. So most of them are just, they just completely fall into that processed drink category. So for the most part, we're going to exclude alcohol, especially in the beginning for the most part, because it's really just, there's not really a ton of benefits from a health standpoint to including any kind of alcohol, especially the alcoholic drinks with a bunch of stuff in them. So with that, that concludes the mastering basics on fluid intake. So get your water bottle, and start drinking that water and pay attention to the color of your urine to see whether you're hydrated or not. If you do want to keep up with all the content in the future mastering the basics series here, please go to my website, rjbhealth.coach, click on the newsletter link at the top, enter your email address, and you'll be signed up for my newsletter, and I will email you whenever I put out new content, and you'll be the first to know about it, which is really cool. That way you don't have to stalk me on social media or anything. And if you need help with this stuff, help mastering the basics or anything else, I do have spots for one-on-one coaching. So you can go to my website again, rjbhealth.coach. Click on the schedule discovery call button that's right on the homepage, and we can set up a time to talk. You just got to fill out that form, and I'll get an email, and we can chat a little bit more about whether it'd be good fit to work together. With that, appreciate everyone's time, and I will talk to you all next week.